After the shocking announcement of Meents' retirement plans for 2024, the future of the MonsterTalk name has been up in the air ever since. As of the recording of this video, only 2 MonsterTalks run on the circuit. Blake Granger's for the International Series, and Tom Meents in stadiums across the United States. But with Meents retiring, who will take over the mantle of MonsterTalk? This is a question I aim to answer in this video. So without further ado, let's examine our options. Over the years, Maximum Destruction has had many names other than Tom Meents drive the truck. Drivers like Phil Foster and Chuck Warner have driven it on occasion, the former of which driving it for a full season. Other drivers include Craig Christensen, Morgan Kane, Jared Eichelberger, and even some recent ones like Colt Stevens for the 2022 Australian Tour, as well as the Netherlands and Finland, and Mark List for Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. However, arguably the truck's most well-known and well-loved driver besides Tom Meents was Neil Elliott. A crucial member for Meents' team in its beginning, Elliott campaigned MonsterTalk for 16 years alongside Tom Meents. His years behind the wheel of the truck have contributed to its legacy just as much as Tom Meents has, always having a ragged edge approach to his driving just like Tom Meents. Better yet, his experience driving both CRDs and especially Meents chassis make him a perfect fit to slip into either type, though his personal preference would definitely be the Meents chassis, as that is what he has driven for most of his career. Unfortunately, the likelihood of Elliott returning to the sport is the equivalent of wanting Tesla to make gas-powered cars. It just ain't happening. Though I sure hope I'm wrong, I hate to say that Elliott looks to have moved on from driving these 12,000-pound beasts. So we can cross him off our list for a potential option.
Well, there's no such thing as freestyle 101, baby. This is freestyle the way it's done by Neil Elliott in Maximum Destruction.
One driver I purposefully neglected to mention prior was Colton Eichelberger, one of Tom Meents' sons. While Colton originally did not start behind the wheel of MonsterTalk, rather moving over to the truck after his short stint in Gravedigger, his performances in MonsterTalk during his Monster Jam tenure were nothing short of typical MonsterTalk action. My favorite example of which being the February 18th freestyle from Houston, Texas, where he would lay down, in my honest opinion, one of the best freestyles of all time, with incredible saves and moves at almost every interval. Eichelberger to me makes the most sense for taking over the name, with him being related to Meents. Positioning him as the new face of MonsterTalk doesn't tarnish the truck's legacy, but rather continues it. He would be carrying it on for the new generation, sort of like how Dennis's children have helped carry on the legacy of Gravedigger after his retirement. He was originally intended to run a second MonsterTalk in 2022 after he returned in 2021 and shared driving duties with Meents in quarters 3 and 4. However, since its original announcement, Eichelberger has not driven in a full-time capacity since, only briefly appearing at this year's World Finals for the Encore, where he drove Thunder Roarus over 9 other trucks. Like Elliott, he is versatile in both types of chassis, even more so than Elliott. For most of his career, he had driven a CRD chassis, with only sporadic occasions that he drove a Meents chassis, meaning upon his return, he could very easily slip into either type of truck. The problem with Colton, however, is not when he will return, it's if he returns. Considering his only return was a one-time stunt and not a full season return, I feel like Colton's time in Monster Jam may be a closed chapter. So again, we have to cross him off the list as well. Another option is one that could work out the easiest for Monster Jam. Blake Granger, while not related to Tom Meents in any way, or has even driven it for as long as, say, Elliott or Eichelberger, to me, is someone who could easily carry the mantle of this hallowed truck. Blake has flown under the radar for many since his debut, originally being a fill-in for Colton, while he left to fill in for an injured Tom Meents, on FS1 Series East in 2017. But I think he's really started to flourish even more so on a stadium setting on the international tour this year. He has really embraced the name Max D, and sometimes a little too much.
It was at this moment that he knew.
Regardless though, he has the attitude of a Max D driver, the skill of a Max D driver. He's a great racer and an amazing driver to watch in freestyle. While he has never driven a Meents chassis before and probably never will, he can drive the wheels off Max D in a CRD the same way others before him have driven the truck. With him already signed on with Monster Jam and touring internationally at the moment, it doesn't make sense for him not to be the driver to carry the legacy of Max D. Right? Well, I'm not so sure. Now don't get me wrong, I think Blake is a perfect fit for this truck, and I stand by that wholeheartedly. However, in Monster Jam's current position, I don't think this would work out for a variety of reasons. For one, Monster Jam needs drivers for the international tour, and taking him out would leave them with one less driver. Furthermore, with only 48 total spots for tours in the United States, who would they shelve, or who would they move to the international tour to allow Blake to compete on one of those tours? In addition to that, Max D is a flagship truck. Not in the sense of being a key merchandise seller, or at least not anymore, and rather purely based on its creator and its storied history, letting a driver who has no ties with the team and truck other than the fact that he was one of the lucky few who's been given the privilege to run the name, continue it once the creator has retired is a move I honestly can't see Monster Jam making. If this was any other name, we wouldn't be having this conversation, but it's purely because Max D is such a hallowed name and is treated as such by Monster Jam. Crossing Blake off this list means we don't have anyone left to discuss, which leaves the future of Max D in a very bleak and unknown spot. From Monster Jam's own media, there has been mixed signs as to whether or not the truck will remain after Meents' retirement. There have been hints of the truck leaving post-retirement, with a notable example on Inside Monster Jam.
Now it's down to Max D and Gravedigger. I can't see Max D without the legacy of Tom Meents. We're going to throw that out. We're going to throw that out. We're going to throw that out.
Though, in saying that, in that same episode, Jordan answered a fan question that was essentially the question that this video has been aiming to answer, where Jordan replied with,
I can't imagine Monster Jam continuing without Max D. And again, this is just my opinion. I have no inside information on this, but as a fan, I don't see a Monster Jam without Max D and Max D without Monster Jam.
It is important to note that with that last response, Jordan explicitly went out of his way to clarify that those were his personal thoughts and not reflective of Monster Jam's vision. Going all the way back to the very first season of Inside Monster Jam, I actually asked a very similar question for an episode featuring Tom Meents, where he would state,
we need to seek out and see who's next. We're going to need a new guy. We're going to need somebody that's going to get the job done in the future for a long time to come. That's someone we're going to have to find at Monster Jam University, and we're going to keep looking for that special superstar to take over the seat at some point. I mean, that's going to have to happen.
With such mixed responses, even from the man who created this truck, the future of the truck right now is up in the air. It may be entirely likely that the truck is retired once Tom Meents hangs up his helmet for the final time. The only thing fans can do is stay optimistic that someone, either known for driving the truck or someone completely new, carries the legacy of this truck after Meents has retired. All we can really do at the moment is hope for the best and appreciate every single last performance he gives us next year. What do you think will happen to Max D? Let us know down below. And thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon with some more Monster Truck content.